Podcasting can be a major time suck, but it doesn't have to be. In this video, I'm going to share with you 5 podcasting secrets that save me a ton of time. Let's get started right now. I'm Todd.LIVE. I'm a podcaster and video producer who uses the internet to market my entrepreneurial endeavors. In 2019, YouTube is my big focus, so I hope to earn your click to subscribe to my channel and follow along. I'm going to be dropping a lot of videos all year long, a lot of how-to stuff. If that's the kind of thing you're interested in, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell. Tip number 1, you've got to have a game plan. Know everything about how your podcast is going to run as you go into a recording session, when to hit the record button, when to play music, when to play sound effects, when to tune out, when to play the outro music if you've got outro music, when to stop the recording. Knowing all this allows you to do it all in one take, which is going to save you a whole lot of time later in the process. When you know the show like the back of your hand, it becomes instinctual to just sit down and record an episode and knock it out. This comes with practice, but you want to focus on a system for getting in and getting out and get it nailed so that you can do it repeatedly without any problems whatsoever, without having to start fresh and reinvent the wheel every time you go to record podcasts. Point number 2, you need to know the material that you're talking about, the subject matter. You want to make it so that there's no need for a script. There's no need for an outline. There's no need for bullet points. You just want to get into a position where you can wing it. If you know the material that you're talking about very well, there's no reason you need a bunch of notes and a whole format and all this stuff to go by. You should be able to have a topic that you can talk about and go in there and talk about it in a conversational fashion. When you go about a podcast conversationally, it's going to flow. It's going to feel natural. You're going to come up with things that you think about while you're in the midst of the podcast, and you're going to chase them down and see where they lead. It's going to make your show more interesting. And I get it. That kind of format is not for everybody. But if you want to save time and you want to save trouble getting content out the door, quality content, I might add, you need to know your material before you go into recording it so that you can talk about it without a bunch of notes. And yes, from time to time, I have bullet points on an index card too, but it's a very rare moment. I like to talk about things that I know something about. Point number 3, batch recording. Look at anything you do online. If you can do it in batch, you're going to save time and trouble and get more done. Batch recording means that you sit down at the microphone and you say, I'm going to record a whole month's episode in one sitting, a whole week's worth of content in one sitting. Whatever it is, I have 2 daily shows. Just the other day, I recorded 35 podcasts in one day. I was exhausted. I felt like I had been beat down with a stick. But guess what? I knocked out a half a month for 2 different shows in one day. These daily shows are going to drop every day at noon. People are accustomed to getting them every day at noon. And because of the volume of downloads that I'm getting between the 2 shows, I'm filling up an audience hall every single day with my content. If I had to record these each day when I got up in the morning and prep the files and get them out into the world, that's all I'd ever do. Instead, I sit down, I record them all. The very little editing that I do it that day, and I schedule them all that day. It's done, and I don't have to think about it for the next 2 or 3 weeks. Oftentimes, I work ahead even a month or 2 in advance if the content is something that's evergreen. Evergreen means that it's going to be relevant material no matter when it lands. For instance, my Instagram show, a lot of that content that I talk about is good year-round. It's not something that expires in a day or a week. So I'm able to create topics and have a whole list of topics and sit down in one day and just knock them all out. Number 4, I mentioned it a minute ago, eliminate editing as much as you can. Look, folks, when I start recording a podcast, I hit the start button on my recorder, okay? I immediately start talking. I play the music during the show. Any sound effects or advertising during a show, I'm going to play it during the show. I close out the show while I'm recording in that one segment, and I play the outro music, and I immediately hit the stop button on my recorder. Then there's no editing. Your podcast doesn't have to be perfect, okay? A cough or a sneeze or even a yawning session that you're trying to get over. It happens, folks. Work your way through it while you're recording. Here's what I do. If a recording is so bad that I feel I need to go back and edit it, I just re-record it. Now look, I do run a show, both of my shows, they're 5 to 15 minutes long. Occasionally they go up to 20 minutes. But even at 20 minutes, if I think back and think, man, maybe I yawned a few too many times, or maybe I delved into politics just a little bit and I don't really want to do that, I just need to get rid of it, I just re-record the whole thing. If it was a 20-minute recording, it's going to take me that long to remove the SD card, shove the SD card in, find the file, move the file, find the segment that I want to edit out, make sure it sounds right with the edit. All this other crap that I'm adding, you know, I knock all that out. And on a second take, it's usually a better recording anyway, because now it's kind of like I got to rehearse the podcast episode. So now I'm going to do it in real time, right? I'm going to do it for real. So it's better that way. And with a daily podcast, I can't rehearse every podcast and then record it. I have to just hit record and live with what I get. And normally I'm totally fine. On occasion though, I have said, you know what? I'm going to trash that and I'm going to re-record it. There's no reason to get into politics, or there's no reason to say whatever it is I said, or maybe that wasn't the best way I could have said it. It happens, folks. We're human. Here's another thing about the editing. Some people say that it's not necessarily professional to leave sneezes or a yawn. Usually yawns come in numbers. So if you yawn once, you're going to yawn 5 times. And some people would say, well, why would you want to leave that in the podcast? Well, I started out as a live streamer, okay? That's where I kind of made my bones in the digital space, is with live streaming. When I'm live streaming, if I have a yawning fit, it's on camera. It's live. There's nothing I can do about it. If I sneeze, if the dog barks, if someone rings the doorbell, if my kid busts through the door and says, hey, Dad, and I'm live, it's in the live video. On a podcast, 99% of the things that could go wrong, noises and this or that, I just leave it in. It's not that big of a deal. It's not worth the hassle. Now, I have a special case. I have 2 daily podcasts, so I can't spend my life editing 365 podcasts times 2 every year. On the other hand, you don't have time for a lot of editing either. And a lot of the people that reach out to me and want to learn about podcasting, they're scared of editing. They're scared of all the time it's going to take. This is the solution. Number 5, way to save time when you're podcasting. This is kind of a techie solution, a techie tip, but have all of your audio devices plugged into the same outlet, okay? I have all my audio devices plugged into a power strip. That power strip is plugged into a remote control plug. So I hit one button and all of my audio devices come on. Mixer, compressor, voice recorder, everything I have that's audio all turns on at the same moment. It all turns off at the same moment. That way I'm not reaching and fiddling and messing with all of my equipment to turn everything on. And pro tip, if you're into live video and you're watching this because you're into podcasting too, have all your lighting plugged in to one plug. Watch how nice this works. Off, on. The audio does the same thing. I'm not going to test it because I don't want to turn my audio off. Look, anytime you can remove friction from the process of producing content like podcasting or a live video or a YouTube video or whatever, the more often you're going to do it. Every little thing you have to remember to do and every little thing you have to do is more work to set up and get started, which means you're going to put it off, or you're not going to want to do it. It's not going to be as much fun. Not only that, the more things you have to do, the better chance there is that you forget something and then you go to record and one thing's not turned on, or one button's not pushed, or one thing is out of whack, or you bump something. So one button gets everything on and you're up and running. Okay, so let's recap real quick. Point number 1, have a game plan. Know when to start your recording, when to end your recording. Have a plan for everything that goes on during your recording. That way you don't have to go back and screw around with it later. Point number 2, know the subject matter, know the material. When you start talking, talk about things that you know about so that you can carry it on like a conversation without having to look at notes and scribbles and worry about you're getting everything right. Talk about things you know about. Record in batch. If you do 4 podcasts a month and let's say you do interviews and you record 4 podcasts a month and you schedule interviews and bring people on, do it all on a Monday. Get them all knocked out. Schedule all 4 people. When you send your calendar link out to people, Monday's the only day they have to choose from between the hours of 10 and 5, say, okay? Have them pick, schedule all 4, knock out the month in one sitting. You'll be amazed at how much nicer your life is. Eliminate the need for editing in every way you can. I'm down to one process process when I edit. I do some amplification of my audio to make it sound better. Other than that, I don't edit a damn thing. Eliminating editing from the process is like 90% of the whole process. When you can eliminate editing, let me tell you something, you can become a content creation machine. And of course, being the tech that I am, having all the plugs in one plug and being able to flip it on and off with one button without having to reach around or crawl under a desk to get to a button, this is the way to do it, my friends. It makes it easy. On, off, boom, done. All right, if you have any questions about any of these tips, put them down below in the description. I will answer to everyone. And let me know which tip you think was the most important. Which one is going to be a game changer for you? Comment down below in the description. I will answer. Again, I would love to hear your thoughts on this. And if you like what you see in this video, click a thumbs up. That tells YouTube that this is a video worth watching and it helps me. Be sure to hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. I've made it easy for you to watch another one of my good videos. I've made it easy for you to subscribe. And I thank you for watching, folks. Until the next time, I'll see you in the next video.